How about now? Am I live there? Not live anywhere. Okay, so we are live on Twitch and YouTube. Perfect. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to Trash to Treasure Live. Last week, or this Monday, I released the video on the black section, and we also talked about Commanderin. We've decided that this is going to be an EDH cube, so we're going to change the rules slightly from the last time we built one. It's going to be 480 cards, 2 picks per pack, 20 card packs. Color identity matters, and as I said, monocolored legends have partner. So we're going to have monocolored legends. We have infinite prismatic pipers, 20 cards, 2 picks each, and I recommend running it as a brawl style format, pods of 4, 25 life total, 60 card decks. But now that we've got that shaping our decisions to come, I'm able to be a little bit more selective about the cards we're adding in. So let's get into the black section and start culling once again. Because again, now we have black as 142 cards. It's never going to need 142 cards. Because I am going to suggest that this cube does support aggro, black is one of the tertiary aggro colors. We are going to want a few cards, not as much as white and red, but enough that basically say, hey, your life total matters, you got to put something on the board quick. So let's get into the 1-drops and see what we can cut. Barrier of Bones is a nice defensive option. I don't know that we need it, but it's there. We'll go through the rest of these 1-drops and we'll kind of see which ones we can cut. Bloodsoaked Champion is exactly what I'm looking for. It's a human and warrior, 2 creature types that might matter. It's a 2/1 that can't block for 1. Great stat line for an aggro deck. And can be returned from the battlefield if you've attacked this turn. So it's going to be a recursive, aggressive threat. Love to see it. This card is absolutely in the final list. Cabal Therapist. This one is our first kind of interesting question mark card. In a 1v1 setting, I would feel more comfortable playing with this card because once you've seen somebody's hand, you now have the hand knowledge for the coming turns. Being able to force a discard of your opponent's best stuff every turn is very powerful. However, this is a target player in a 4-person environment, so I think as much as I like the idea, it's going to be cut. As you notice, I did put it to the maybe board, just because I know that black is going to be low on 1-drops anyway, and if we have to sneak in a 1-drop as just a, you need to find something else to fill, I'm happy with the Cult Conscript. Duty-Bound Dead. This doesn't seem all that great. I like that it has the Exalted, but it's only a 0/2, and it costs 4 mana to regenerate. So I think this is an easy cut. Fume Spitter. As I mentioned in that video this past Monday, I love this card for 2 reasons. One, it's going to support its own kind of micro archetype, the -1 counters. You know, you put one of those on there, you proliferate, all of a sudden you can start really shrinking your opponent's stuff. But also, it is excellent if you happen to get it with Abiding Grace. This white enchantment from Modern Horizons 2 that I am absolutely in love with. Beginning of your end step, choose 1, you gain 1 life, which is almost never relevant, or return target creature card with mana value 1 from your graveyard to the battlefield. In this case, being able to sacrifice Fume Spitter on your second main phase and then bring it back every turn means you are continually shrinking your opponent's armies. Love it. This is almost for sure slam dunk here. Gnawing Vermin. Similar kind of idea, but it doesn't have the self-sacrifice fodder. When it ETBs, you mill 2. Anybody can mill 2, you or your opponent. Probably you at first, but the later on in the game, you might start targeting other players. And then when it dies, you shrink something a little bit. So you can kill off tokens or X1s. Fine. Again, can be brought back without Abiding Grace, but it's going to need something that wants it to sacrifice. I think we do have some coming up, but we're just going to leave that there right now. Quag Vampires. This has, again, two relevant types, usually. Vampires and Rogues. It's got Swamp Walk, which I'm really not in love with. There is a reason that Wizards has kind of done away with Land Walk. It's got this multi-kicker ability, which means it's kind of relevant even later on. So you play it as a 1-mana 1/1? As a 3-mana 3/3 Swamp Walk? Sounds pretty powerful. So 5-mana... Oh, it only gets one counter. So it'd be 3-mana 2/2. Alright, that's weaker. Probably why I thought it was a medium card to begin with. We'll leave it for now, because we are going to have to make cuts. Sanitarium Skeleton is one of these effects that I love to have, but I hate when it's templated like this. This is a card that is just sacrifice fodder. You're almost never happy to just play it, but you are very happy if you continually kill it and bring it back. I think the one that I'm looking for is on 2, and I think we did get it. Yeah, Reassembling Skeleton. So you can see the templating between the two. If I do this... So this says, return it from your graveyard to your hand for 3 mana, making it 4 total mana all in. This is 2 mana to play it, but 2 mana to return it to the battlefield tapped. So the first time, it's legitimately equal. But after that first one, you're much happier to have the Reassembling Skeleton. Maybe if you've even got some way to sacrifice things for mana. Again, not sure. We haven't really gone to the artifacts yet. But in the last cube, one of the cards we were looking at was a Ashnod's Altar of Sorts. And this would have worked really well in that environment because you're able to just continually make all of that extra mana. So, reset the filter. Okay. So I don't like Sanitarium Skeleton because we do have the Reassembling Skeleton. We might keep it just for it being 1 mana. We are going to want probably 4 or 5 black 1 mana creatures. And right now the numbers are looking a little low, but this is also an easy-ish cut. See, Tenacious Dead does the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm pointing to a screen that you guys can't see. Tenacious Dead does the same thing. It is a 1 mana 1/1 that when it dies, you can pay the 1 in a black. So it's a little bit more restrictive, but it's also way cheaper. I think the restrictions on this mean that I don't want it, but I also think that the Sanitarium Skeleton is also not where I want to be. Let's look at this Scornblade Berserker. So it's a 1 mana 1/2-ish. 1 mana sacrifices creature, draw a card, it's got the backup ability, puts a 1/1 counter on something else, you can sacrifice it to something else. I don't like backup on this card specifically because you would be losing that counter. Like on the Baneslayer Angel, it gives something Baneslayer Angel-like abilities for that one turn, and then it is a smaller Baneslayer. But this is very much different because it's going to put a counter on something that you're then going to sacrifice for 1 mana to draw a card, but that means the counter is lost. And then you can sacrifice this for 1 mana, draw a card. Yeah, I think this doesn't make the cut. It just doesn't... It's doing too little. I think between the two of these, the Sanitarium and the Tenacious Dead, as an aggressive deck, would much rather have this, the Tenacious Dead. But I think of the two, Sanitarium Skeleton is probably slightly better because it doesn't have the timing restriction. I still don't like it, and it's probably still going to get cut. But I think of the two of these, the 1 mana skeletons, I think this is the one to cut, the Tenacious Dead. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 card changes. Okay, I think that's pretty good for the ones. Now let's get into our twos. Remember, I am trying to keep things fairly open because we still have 2 more colors, a multicolored section, and a colorless section to look at. So we are going to look at what we can do to kind of keep the big questions open, and then at the end of the whole experiment, we'll kind of really focus in the list from, 500-ish cards to 400 and whatever. 480. So we're going to start over here on 2 mana. That's 3 mana. Good. No 2 mana legends, so no auto includes. Acquisitions Expert is something that I loved in Zendikar Rising. It's very great for the party. But like the Cabal Therapist before, it hits a target player. So in most cubes, that doesn't matter. I would prefer Acquisition Expert over Burglar Rat. However, in this cube, I think Burglar Rat is much stronger because you're 3-for-1ing. You're playing a 2 mana rat, everybody else has to discard a card, and now all of a sudden you've got card advantage. Great. So I think this will get moved to the maybe board. It's another good get discard card, but it's targeted, and that makes it a little worse. So, this is one of those cards that makes creature type matter. And we can kind of look into it right now to see where we're at before we even do anything else. Yeah, so we've got 1 white warrior that also has a warrior buff, but then we have 6 right now, including the reassembling skeleton that we know is going to stay in there. So warrior might be a supported archetype. Anyway, let's continue. When it attacks, each warrior creature you control can't be blocked this turn except by 2 or more creatures, so it gives everything menace. All your warriors menace. Including itself, so it reads as a 2 mana 2/2 human warrior menace. Totally fine stat line for black, I think. Bloodthrone Vampire. Just a regular vampire. Sack a creature, it gets a bonus until end of turn, but really what you're using this for is its sacrifice outlet. It's great that it still gets bigger, but the big reason you want to use this is to be the sack outlet for your other things. Okay, it's fine. I prefer something that's a little bit more permanent, but this has no cost, easy in. As mentioned, Burglar Rat, absolutely getting in. Generally, I like my rats to do other things, but this rat's other thing is hitting everybody. Decadrome Imp. 2 mana flying lifelink. It's fine. I've got nothing to say to it. If I know that black has a few things it's playing around with gaining life on a turn, pairs really well with white in that regard. We are running white life gain as a theme. It's a fine card. Dekuchi Silencer. 2 mana 2/1 with a ninja for 2 mana. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Alright, so this is an interesting question. You're able to attack with something, maybe it's unblockable, maybe it's small, maybe it's an Ornithopter. They don't block, they laugh it off, and then you're able to ninja it out. Let's say that during the game they don't expect the ninja, because I don't think that there's many in the cube. There might be a couple. So they don't expect the ninja happens. You discard a card to 1-for-1. It's not terrible, but it's asking a lot. It's asking a lot of you, because 1-for-1 removal is not excellent in Commander. Like, you want to have your removal at instant speed, so if they target you with their big scare, you get rid of it. And this is going to be doing that on your turn. I think that's a no thanks. Doom Dissenter, again, just cannon fodder. 1 mana, 1/1 human. When it dies, make a 2/2 zombie. Totally okay. Chump block, make a zombie. Sacrifice fodder, make a zombie. 2 bodies. It's fine. Echo of Dusk, vampire, possibly matters. Spirit also might possibly matter. I don't really remember, but I think it might be in there. As long as there are 4 more permanent cards in your graveyard, it gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. So it's just a 2 mana 2/2, but assuming Delirium, it's a 2 mana 3/3 lifelink. I really like that card. Wonder why I'm not running it in my combat cube. Anyway, Eternal Taskmaster. This guy, love this guy. Came out in War of the Spark. I think it's pretty under the radar for low to medium power environments. It's a 2 mana 2/3 zombie, but also gives you the ability to reanimate. Oh, it's not reanimate. That's why nobody plays it. Creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I was reading this as if it was the one from Zendikar that costs 4 mana to do it as a kicker. Okay, so I see why people don't like this card, because now I'm liking it a lot less. You know what they say about Magic players and reading. It's still worth thinking about. It's a 2 mana 2/3. It's a zombie. Can potentially grave dig every turn. I mean, that's value. Fetid Imp. 2 mana 1/2 flying with the ability to get Death Touch. I think in a 1-for-1 against the other imp, the Dagger Drone imp, I want that one more. So we're going to get rid of this. Flensermite. 2 mana 1/1 Infect and lifelink. Now we got to talk about Infect. Do we want Infect to be in here? I know that traditionally Commander players hate it. It's another axis of winning for people playing this cube, so that could be cool. But aside from having Infect, this card really has no other use. There is a bit of Proliferate that I am having, so maybe it's worth considering just to end the game on a different axis. I don't know. We'll keep going. Graveyard Marshal, 2 black pips for a zombie soldier, 3/2, exile a creature card from your graveyard, make a zombie. I like the flavor, I like the rarity, I like the creature types, and I like the token making. I think its power is just perfect for where you want a black aggressive deck to be. I don't know that you're super happy to be eating your own grave in black, but there might be a market for it. Okay. In the episode, I mentioned things like Knight of Malice and the other one that I think I added back in. Yep, I did. Knight of Grace. They both have hexproof from the other color. They're humans, which probably will matter, and they're knights, which probably won't. We're going to read it as a 2 mana 3/2 first strike, because as long as any player controls a white permanent, in a 4-player cube experience, that's going to happen. And then it's got hexproof from white. And the reason I don't like it in 1v1 is also the reason I like it in free-for-all. Because it gives itself a little bit extra protection from a possible opponent, but it also isn't threatening to just lock somebody out. If someone's running a mono-white deck, for whatever reason, they're on mono-white, all their spells are white, they can't interact with this card at all. In a one-on-one session, that would just be big feels bad. I mean, it's the way old Magic used to play. Sometimes you just sit down at the table and lose. It's fine. But I try to avoid cards like that when I'm cube building. In this environment, if somebody sits down and is mono-white, this thing is still pretty powerful. It's a 2 mana 3/2 first strike. But if it ever looks at one of the other 2 opponents, they're going to kill it. No big deal. Leech Gauntlet. This is one of the excellent class of cards for me. It is an artifact creature, and it's an equipment. It has lifelink, and if you equip it, or reconfigure in this case, as a creature to a creature if you happen to get hit by a board wipe. Like, I know that we have Slaughter the Strong, and there's some down here in black too. I think there's some damage-based ones in red that we're going to come up to next week. It protects itself. I think for all of those reasons, it's going to be a bit of an auto-include here. Neon Dynasty was so good for drafters. It's ridiculous. Nezumi Prowler. When it enters the battlefield, target creature control gains Death Touch and Lifelink till end of turn. I like this more than the other ninjutsu because you're still on the aggressive. You're still attacking with it and, possibly one-for-oneing where they were just going to eat your bad creature. I think this one's going to stay for now. Oathsworn Vampire. 2 mana 2/2, enters tapped. May cast it from your graveyard if you gain life this turn. This is another one of those things. Oh, and it's also a Vampire Knight, so the Vampire might matter. The Knight probably won't. But it will be able to keep coming back, even on the same turn. Like, if you gain life during your attack step, you had a lifelink card, you can then start like a sacrifice loop with this Oathsworn Vampire if you've got some outlet. Like, say, Bloodthorn Vampire. You just sacrifice it a bunch of times and keep casting it from the yard. It's fine. This thing, 2 mana 1/2 Human Rogue, Death Touch F left 1. It's one of those cards that you add in when you're culling through the environment because you know that it's just a fine 2-drop, but it's well under the power level of everything else we've been looking at. Reassembling Skeleton. We've talked about this card ad nauseum at this point. It's in. Spudseeker. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, create a blood token. Sacrifice 2 blood tokens, transform it. Becomes a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you create life this turn, create a blood token. Sure. I don't like the base level body, but I also don't think it's a huge ask to transform it. I think if this is the only blood token enabler, it's probably getting cut, because that is a large weight to put on this vampire's shoulders. But if we're able to cast like the red mana 1/1 that also makes a blood token, if you do that into this, now you've got a 2 mana 3/3 that also has an ability to drain each of your opponents. So it's on the bubble. Skin Thinner. Turn face up, destroy target non-black creature. This would be fine, except one, it's a vanilla card. Like, on the battlefield, it's vanilla, unless you morph it. But then you'd want to have a bunch of other morphs, because otherwise everybody knows it's Skin Thinner. So that's a no. Because I know that we don't have the morphs. Squeaking Pie Sneak. Reveal a goblin card from your hand, or pay 3. Fear. So it's a goblin and a rogue. Both are creature types that probably will matter. Are we going to be looking at red-black goblins? I don't know. If we're going to be doing a cross-color archetype like that, a cross-color kindred like that, goblins are a big one. We will have to wait and see our red section before we make a choice on this. Because let's pretend that line didn't exist. It is always going to come down as a 2 mana 2/2 with Fear. That's probably good enough. And then White of Precinct 6 gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your opponent's graveyards. Again, great. Especially if you play it early. Maybe trade for something. It's maybe a 1 mana 2/2, 3/3, trades down, whatever. And then you're able to unearth it. And then it comes back, and now it's like you paid 1 mana for the unearth, and now it's 7/7, 8/8, 10/10. Especially because it's each creature card in your opponent's graveyards. You have 3 opponents. It's going to get big. Alright, so I think that there's a few changes right now for 2s. And we're on to the 3s. Wow. Another big section. This time we do have 2 legendaries. And like I said in the video, black didn't actually end up with a bunch. White did, so did blue. Black didn't. So these guys are auto-includes. We have to build with them in mind because we have to have them. So, Armix, Filigree Thrasher. Artifact creature, when it attacks, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature defending player controls gets -X/-X, where X is the number of artifacts you control plus the number of artifacts in your graveyard. Fine. It's a 3-mana artifacts commander that can remove things. Totally cool. Keskit, the Flesh Sculptor. Sacrifice 3 other artifacts and or creatures, so it even kind of works within the theme. Great to see that. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 2 of them in your hand and the other in your graveyard. Oh, excellent. So its stat line is kind of underwhelming. Like, this is an alright stat line. This one has this underwhelming stat line, but you're never attacking with Keskit anyway. You're going to sacrifice some stuff that really doesn't matter to draw some cards. Okay, it's fine. We're stuck with it. We've talked about this before. We need to have black legendaries to partner with, so we're just stuck with it. Let's look at the rest. Each opponent loses 2 life, costs 1 life to activate for each creature card in your graveyard. Great. Human Soldier, again, not really here for the stats. It's going to be basically an enchantment with legs. Totally fine. Oh, that said though, talking about that is we are going to need to keep in mind that we want some that have aggressive stats. So if this is our non-aggressive black 3-drop and the Sculptor is a non-aggressive black 3-drop, then we're going to have to keep in mind the other aggressive ones. Give me 1 second. Do this. Sorry, everybody. I just gotta deal with something. Why is this not coming up? Is that the button? What am I doing? There we go. Cool. Alright, that's fixed. Now, back to where I was. Black Bloom Rogue. This is kind of, again, it's got decent creature types, but it's also an MDFC. So if you're feeling daring, you cut a land to add the Black Bloom Rogue in, and then you have this creature that can be a tap land when you need it, but otherwise can just count as a creature in your deck. These are probably going to make it no matter what, because they're very, they're very versatile. That's the word I'm looking for. They're very versatile. They only ask that you want to have a tap land in them. Bone Shredder, fine card. It's a 1/1 flyer, so kind of bad. This Echo cost you're probably never casting, but when it ETBs, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. It casts Fear. Fine. We've already got Armex as 1 kill spell creature. Bone Shredder's not bad. I mean, I wish the stats were better, but this is also a much older card. As you can see on the logo, and I'd point it out if I could with the mouse, that's Urza's... That might be Urza's... No, that's not Urza's Saga. Is it Legacy? I don't know. It's part of the Urza's block. Completely power crept block to straight to hell. So at the time, it was one of the most powerful creatures, but, again, now it's gone. Brackus Trudge, 3 mana 4/2, enters tapped. Here we go. It can come back from the yard as a very aggressive attacker if you've gained life. This is a good black life gain creature. It's a good way to... it's a good creature to have in black to support the life gain idea. So I think that we like that. Crow of Dark Tidings. This is another card that I just kind of auto-added because it's totally fine. It's a zombie. It's a 2/1. It flies. It self-mills. It kind of does all the things that black wants to do, however underwhelming. And we have a mess of black 3s, So I think that makes that an easy cut. Liliana's Devotee. Zombies you control get +1/+1. If a creature died this turn, you can make zombies. Okay. We do have some zombie synergy. The buff is small, but not nothing. And then it can make the army itself. What was the one that made the army over here? Did I maybe pull it out already? No, the Graveyard Marshal. So it actually kind of works in tandem with the Marshal too, because this is on the die, on the end step dies, and the Marshal is you can remove it from your yard. Okay. Fine enough for now. Liliana Spectre, 3-mana 2/1 flyer, so very much like the Crow of Dark Tidings, but it has each opponent discard a card. Same idea as the Rat. I love to see it because this is actually a body that they're going to have to pay attention to as well. So you make everybody discard a card, they all lose a card, and then you've got a 2/1 flyer that they have to protect from, probably using somebody else's removal. Great. Nadir's Nightblade. When a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. Again, very good. I love the each opponent templating here for the commander. It's an elf, will probably matter. It's a warrior, probably matters. And it gives the player who drafts it the thoughts about what we can do with tokens. This is probably going to be a very late term cut, if it gets cut, because we're going to have to see what we have for token support and in what colors they are. Assuming white and green, because they're the token colors, but if we're able to make tokens at a very cheap cost, something like treasure or food, you know, think about, when I look at Nadir's Nightblade, the first thing that comes to my mind is Lord of the Rings Limited. Just having all those tokens kind of lying around that could possibly buff what you're trying to do, but also then they'll trigger this thing to help win the game. Very happy about that. Nightclubber. Oh, here's our first Wrath. A Wrath on a body. Enters the battlefield. Creatures your opponent control get -1/-1 till end of turn. Human, warrior. 2 types that matter. It's a 3-mana 2/2, which, not great, but it exists. It can be blitzed for 3 as well. Kills the token armies that somebody might have. And it... I don't know. This is kind of one of those niche things, because it'll shrink the board that you're trying to attack into, but then the very next turn, there you've got more power again, and now you're tapped down. I'll keep going. Oathsworn Knight, Human Knight, and this is the Monty Python reference of the set. This is the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Every time damage would be dealt to it, prevent that damage and remove a counter. 4 attacks, now he's not able to fight anymore. Very cute reference from the first Eldraine set. Plays well with +1/+1 counter synergies. Plays very well, because it doesn't remove that many. Oftentimes in recent Magic, when they've done an effect like this, it's removed that many +1/+1 counters on it. In this case, it could get hit for 6 damage on the first hit, lose 1 counter. Very, very strong 4-drop, I think. Very strong 3-drop, I think. Plaguemare. Kind of a color hate. Can't be blocked by white creatures, and at ETBs, creatures your opponents control get +(-1/-1) till end of turn. So it runs in the very same circle as the Nightclubber, except this one is kind of protection from white. It can't be blocked by white creatures. But this has the Blitz ability, it's a human, it's a warrior. I think the horse is out. I'm definitely not going to want that ability twice over. Sadistic Sky Marcher, Vampire, Soldier, 3-mana 2/2 flying lifelink, and all you have to do is show off a vampire card. I think we've got enough vampires for this to make a good splash. Tap a rogue, gets Death Touch. When Shadow Sling does combat damage to a player, that player mills 3. We decided last live that mill wasn't going to be a supported archetype. So we got to look at this on its face. It's a vampire rogue, but it's a 3-mana 1/4 that could potentially get Death Touch. What's the 3-mana 1/4 up here I was looking at? The opponent loses 2 life. Okay, so that means I'm not going to want to run this at all. Silver Smoke Ghoul. Again, it's a zombie and a vampire. And if you're able to gain life, it's once again a life gain payoff for black. Gain 3 or more life, return it to the battlefield tapped, and then you're able to sacrifice it to draw a card. Stats are a little underwhelming, but it does so much in other areas that I'm pretty happy with it. Skullport Merchant. ETB, create a treasure. 2, sack another creature or treasure, draw a card. Okay. Okay. Stonecoil Viper. This can reanimate once. Gives it a finality counter, and then the Viper goes to the yard. I'm not super against it. If we were able to guarantee reanimate as a strategy, it probably can fit in as a slow reanimate. But I think that we're not going to have that kind of density. So, here we go. Attacks the 4 more permanent cards, you lose, draw a card, and you lose a life. This almost feels like a 2-player format kind of thing. You attack, draw a card, and lose a life. What was the other one that has the Death Touch? The Shadow Stinker, but we already removed it. So I'm kind of underwhelmed at all of the stats on these cards. There are a few aggressive ones, but a lot that are just kind of like Dirtle Turtles that do something for you. So that's something to keep in mind when we're reducing the thing even more. Vampire Ally. Bloodbond Vampire. When you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodbond Vampire. Life gain payoff. I kind of wish this at 4 mana, I kind of wish this was a flying vampire. We'll see what we get. Bone Picker. Costs 1 if a creature died this turn. Excellent. Love this card. Next. Grave Scabbler. Enters the battlefield if its madness cost was paid. You may return target creature card from a graveyard. Okay, so it's a grave robber-ish. And this is a grave robber that only does it if it's been madnessed. So if you pay 4 mana for this, you don't get the ability. But if you pay 2 mana for a 2/2 zombie, you're able to get another card from the yard. So we're going to keep this in mind. Again, we have to wait for the red section to see what kind of madness we're talking about. I don't think that there was much discard in blue. Chart a course. Daring Saboteur. Yeah, there's not much discard in blue, so we're really going to have to see what red gives us before we make up our mind. It's cool to have a Gravedigger. Not so cool when it isn't able to grave dig unless it's been madnessed. Mindwrack Demon. Mythic, 4/5, Flying Trample. I don't care what the rest of the word said. I want to have this in here. You gotta have something exciting. Passageway Seer. Again, talk about exciting. Lifelink, you take the initiative. This is so big for this environment. Last time, we saw a couple of Monarch cards, and I was very against them. In 1v1, Monarch is very, very strong. In this case, adding something like the initiative into the game will actually make the game state progress faster. This is an auto-include. This is one of those cards that is not going to be cut, because it's just too important to the feel for the gameplay of the cube. Choose a player. Cute. Not really necessary. Skemfar Shadow Sage. Very cool. This is an elf. It's like a Chupacabra, like a ravenous Chupacabra. No, it's not. Magic players can't read. Opponent loses X life, or you gain X life. You're probably choosing each opponent loses X life. I don't want to say that this is a creature kindred cube, but as you've noticed earlier on, I am looking at creature types that will matter for certain things. You know, human is probably going to matter. Warrior, wizard, zombie, vampire, goblin, rogue. These are all types that might matter. So just having a payoff for it seems okay. To the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, make it bigger. Okay. Again, 4 mana, 3/3, 3 for 1 your opponents. Sacrifice another creature, put a 1/1 counter on it. When a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, draw a card. Great piece that is generally not in black, but can help support like as an ancillary color. Syndicate Enforcer is the first card we've seen with Extort, which is again another great multiplayer mechanic. You drain everybody and you get that much life, so in a 4-player game you're gaining 3 life every time you pay the white or black. Vengeful Reaper. Potentially get this down on turn 3 if you foretell it. I mean, it means you're taking turn 2 off. It's an Angel, which probably doesn't matter. Cleric, which also probably doesn't matter. Flying, Death Touch, Haste, 2/3. Okay. Second creature, +1/+1 counter on it. Gains menace until end of turn. What was the other sacrifice a creature? It was the Shadow Cat. The Shadow Cat is a cat horror, so 2 types that don't matter, and it starts as a 3/3. This starts as a 3/3. It's a Vampire Knight, which does matter. This ability costs 1. This ability costs 2. But this is one of those questions where do we want to have more distraction makers would call more economy based or more aggressive based. And then we have our legendary at 4 is Whisper. Sack 2 creatures, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So let's pull out a couple of these 4-drops. I looked at all of them now. I kind of have an idea of what's up. Bloodvine Vampire is out. Let me see what we have for some of the smaller ones. Vengeful Reaper is kind of on the bubble. It's only a 2/3. Sewer Nemesis is actually another one that's on the bubble because you choose a player. Whenever they cast a spell, they mill a card. Mill's not going to be an actual archetype. And then it's just a kind of a big idiot. No, I'd rather have the Mindwreck Demon. I think it's easy to say that I want Shadowcat because this is my type of card. The kind of type of sit back, kind of build your army, have all kinds of things happen when things die. But I also can recognize that this might be the only true 4-drop if we're trying to do aggressive things. We pulled out the Bloodbond Vampire. Grave Scrabbler we're probably going to end up pulling out. Mindwreck Demon is probably fine, actually, as one of them. It's tough to say. One of these 2 cards is getting cut for sure, but none are getting cut right now. Alright, in the 5-drops, we have Nothic. 5 mana, 4/3. When it dies, roll a d20. Exciting. And then you can draw some cards. I think the fact that it's a vanilla card until it dies means already we're cutting it. Because at 5 mana, we want things like this. Vampire Cleric, 3/3. When you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it. And it flies. Way better. Same idea with Sengir Connoisseur. Whenever one or more creatures die, it gets bigger. Flying Vampire. Great. Scourge Familiar. Here is a combo piece. This will make your combo players' brains tick. Discard a card, add black. Super simple. But it leaves the door open for a lot of shenanigans. I think this card is absolutely going to be in the cube. Yeah. Not as powerful as if it said sacrifice a creature, but discard a card seems pretty good too. Discard your hand, pump out the one last big thing or what have you, and you're feeling alright. Tax, exile target creature card from your graveyard. When it dies, put all cards exiled. That is a cool ability. It's a 4/5, so it's basically a vanilla card. And assuming that this has to die and not get exiled, it'll give you a ton of value. Cool. Vampire Scrivener. When you gain life during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. When you lose life during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I think that this is worse than the other two flying vampires we've already looked at, so it's gone. And then Vampire Sovereign. This is, what is that called? I want to say Thragtusk, but I know it's not. The Abzan Rhino from the original Khans of Tarkir. Don't crucify me, I wasn't playing at the time. But it's basically that effect. Enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 3 life, and you gain 3 life. And if you find some way to flicker it, or what have you, great. Siege Rhino, that's the card. This is your Vampire Siege Rhino. Costs 1 more. Double black pip. But it's also a flying vampire. Fine. Abyssal Core Stalker. It's a soft wrath. It's a 6 mana 6/6. Each player sacrifices now. Gargantua. ETB. Draw 2 cards. Lose 2 life. It's only a 4/4. I like that you draw 2, lose 2. But it's only a 4/4. Smog Elemental. Very cool way to keep the flying tokens down. Yes, Twisted Abomination is not great. I love that it only costs 1 black to regenerate it. Swamp cycles for 2, so it's in your hand early, you can get rid of it. And then Urgros. Again, legendary card, we've just got to keep it to keep our numbers up. But it also has something that we've been sealing a lot of, which is player discards. So, you've played your Burglar Rat, you've played your 3 mana Burglar Rat, you've played your Davriel that we're going to get to in a minute. Now on turn 6, you drop this thing, and they're all empty-handed. It's going to let you start drawing cards. Very cool. Demon of Loathing, when it deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifice 7 mana, 7/7 Trampler. Great. Sack a creature, discard a card, pay 4 life. So you're paying 7 mana for this effect. Another potential 3-for-1. But in this case, it's at 7 mana. I think it's going to make this round of cuts, but if we only keep 1 7-mana card, it's absolutely going to be Demon of Loathing. Like, they do way different things, but Demon of Loathing just does so much more that you're looking to do. It's a big, flying demon that can make people sacrifice. Whereas Dust Mangler is kind of like, hey, everybody's going to sacrifice, everybody's going to discard, and everybody's going to lose life. But then, after it's on the board, it's just a vanilla body. Would you rather reanimate Demon of Loathing or Dusk Mangler? I'm sure it would be Demon of Loathing. We'll keep both in for now, but this is one of those questions I'm going to put to you. Do you want the cool flying demon, or do you want this boring Dusk Mangler? No shade. Alright. Davriel. I did mention this a few cards ago. Beginning of each opponent's upkeep, very important. If that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to them. So it's got targeted discard, but what you're really paying this for is a discard payoff. You've made your opponents discard a bunch of cards, and now this is just slowly chipping away at life totals. Plus, as I mentioned with Kasmina, this is a Planeswalker. We didn't have Planeswalkers in the last cube at all, because they're generally not seen as bulk. I'm going to keep whatever Planeswalkers I can, just so that there's that extra facet to the drafting and playing environment. All right. Next, we got Human Frailty. 1 mana instant, destroy target human. Let's save those changes, and then we're going to filter. There are a ton of humans that just happen to be humans. It's the most common creature type in all of Magic. So, it can destroy a Quende, or an Odric, Archaeomancer, Whispering Wizard. You know, for 1 mana, all of these creatures just die. It might be one of the more powerful spells that we could have found. Just because it's a 1 mana, kill a human. Not to mention that art goes kind of hard. Alright, Altar's Reap. Sack a creature, draw 2 cards. Love to see it. Village Rites, Altar's Reap, the one from AFR. Any of these cards are great because they're getting value off something that's going to die anyway. You're never really doing this just to sacrifice your own creature, because generally creatures on board are more important. But if your opponent targets removal, or if they've double blocked or something and you're not getting through anyway, there's no cost. It's an instant. Love it. Cast Down. Very, very good removal in this environment. We have already talked about having legendaries creatures because of making a commander cube. However, most of the creatures are not legendary, so this kills almost everything. Corpse Churn. Mill 3. Then you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It's fine. I like this a lot better as an instant. They've made this effect sorcery a lot of times in Limited, and at a sorcery, I just don't want that. But I think for an instant, it's fine. You know, you're as a control mage, I'm looking at this, and I'm so happy to cast it at end of turn. Okay, just before my turn, mill 3, bring a creature back on my turn, untap, play that creature. Cool. Echoing Decay. This is another one of those cards that is kind of low power with a high ceiling. It's a 2 mana... What the hell is that card called? I cannot think of it right now. Deadweight. It's a 2 mana Deadweight. Deadweight is 1 mana, instant speed, -2, -2. This is twice as much mana to do the same effect. That's a ton. However, if you're targeting tokens, filter. If you're targeting spirit tokens or human tokens or night tokens, thopters, illusions, fairy rogue, even like zombies, you just kill them. You're able to take out an entire token army. So I think it's earned this spot just for that. Eliminate, destroy creature, planeswalker, mana value 3 or less. Fine. Grasp of Darkness, I must have accidentally uploaded twice. Let's go with the Scars of Mirrodin artwork, I like that better. Heartless Act, one of the best removals in our cube. Nasty End is a better version of Altar's Reap, because if you're sacrificing a legendary, draw 3 cards. It's the exact same wording, except if you're targeting a legendary creature, you draw 3 instead. So I think we're going to get rid of Altar's Reap. I don't want to have 2 of that effect, and yeah. Parasitic Grasp deals 3 damage to target human creature, so we've already talked about this. This is a very good way, very clean way to kill humans. Costs a little bit more to kill other things. And it gains you life. Sudden Edict. Target player sacrifices a creature. Cute that it has split second, but I don't think that this is going to make it, so we're going to remove. Ultimate Price, again, premium removal. So we're going to go with that. Alright, Cower and Fear, small board wipe. Again, just makes things a little bit smaller, but the fact that it's on an instant means that your opponent attacks you, you're happy to do this, maybe get a kill or two, but then you're really, what you're doing is you're setting up all of your creatures to just eat theirs. Join the TED, kill basically everything at regular, but if you're hit Delirium, it kills absolutely everything. There are only a few things this won't kill normally, but then for the other stuff, it'll kill a lot. And it even gets around things like regeneration. Okay. Draw 2, lose 2. Instant speed, I'll keep it. Sorcery speed, I'm probably not. Deadly Derision, it's a 4 mana kill spell that makes a treasure token. Not happy about that. So we're going to get rid of that. Drag to the Underworld. 4 mana kill spell, but it might not be 4 mana. Unfortunately, you can only ever get this down to 2 mana. 2 mana destroy target creature, very good. 4 mana, very bad. But it's not hard to get it down to 2 mana, so we'll keep a look at it. Turgid Shadow. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures, love to see it. It's got this foretell ability, so you can set it up for a later turn. And it's a semi-board wipe. You know, you're never going to cast it when your opponents all have token armies, but if there's something scary on everybody's board, you're happy to flip this. Kill everything. And go on with your life. Bloodchief's Thirst. Totally fine removal spell. 1 mana, destroy little things. 4 mana, destroy other things. Bone Shards, I've mentioned, is my favorite of these things, so we're going to get rid of Bone Splinters. Because Bone Shards, you can sacrifice a creature, or discard a card, destroy target creature, or Planeswalker. Way better than Bone Splinters. I think when they came up with this design in Modern Horizons, they perfected it. Because they've been playing around in the space... Wizards have been playing around in the space for a few years, where what's the 1 mana sorcery with an additional cost to destroy anything that we can print? And I think in Modern Horizons they nailed it. Yeah, we don't need extra cards in sorcery speed. I don't think we even need Shrivel, to be honest. We've got enough other -1/-1s that a sorcery speed Shrivel just doesn't do enough. Glistening Deluge. All creatures get -1/-1 till end of turn. Creatures that are green or white get another. So, kind of color hate. If you're in black and red, you can kind of blow out all of your opponents with this. I don't know that it's super necessary. We'll see how many of the 3 mana soft wipes we have. If the number is like 4 or 5, we're probably cutting this. If the number is 1 other, we're going to need it. Go blank. Target player discards 2 cards and exile all cards from that player's library. Very great art. Very great card in 1v1 Magic. Inscription of Ruin. Choose 1. If you kick it, choose all. Target opponent discards 2 cards, reanimate something small, and destroy something smaller. Okay. Malicious Eclipse. All creatures get -2/-2. If a creature an opponent would die this turn, exile it instead. So these two are legitimately the same card. Which means we don't need this. Necrotic Fumes. We don't have anything to learn. So we're not going to have any reason to run lessons. The lessons that they have printed so far are just bad versions of effects because you're able to get them for free with a learn card. I don't think we found any learn cards. Yeah, we have no learn cards, so that card would just be a 3 mana sorcery speed removal spell. Not good. Painful Lesson. Draws 2 cards and lose 2 life. We just talked about this. We have it at instant. We don't need it at sorcery. Block of Predation. Again, it's an MDFC. I do not like the front face at all, though. Because, again, this is 1v1 Magic card. A 1v1 Magic card, 3 mana do this. You know, I'm not excited to do it, but it's probably okay. in a 4-person game, just to target one person, hope to hit something mana 3 or greater. It's a lot. Pestilent Haze. All creatures get -2/-2 till end of turn, or remove 2 loyalty counters from each planeswalker. I don't know that we need 3 copies of the effect. I'm tempted to keep Malicious Eclipse and Pestilent Haze. Let's move this to the sideboard for now, in case we want 2 copies of that effect. Render Inert. This is good against battles and planeswalkers, neither of which are going to have a big enough pull here. Sword Point Diplomacy, again, another card that I mentioned in the card review video that I'm actually a huge fan of as a card getting machine. In regular Commander, everybody's at 40 life, you're never getting a card. In 1v1, this is 3 mana, kind of do nothing, so that like in its day in Standard and in Pioneer, you're not really playing this card. I think this cube might actually be a very sweet spot for this card to shine. Even if your opponent split it all up, it's 3 mana, deal 3 damage to everybody. Probably okay. Moan of the Unhallowed, we looked at this last time. It's still probably fine. 4 mana, make 2 2/2s, 7 mana, make 2 more 2/2s. Rising Miasma, same version as the 3 mana ones, except it's got this Awaken Rider. No. Defossilize. Alright. We have 4 Reanimates. 4 5-mana Reanimates. So what I'm seeing here is we're going to keep 2. I like Vat Emergence because it comes with Proliferate. Also says form a graveyard. That makes it a zombie. This can be cast at flash. And then this also makes the creature explore. So I think we're going to remove Defossilize and Rise from the Grave. We're going to keep 1 that could potentially become an instant speed surprise. I'm reanimating. And another that proliferates. Thwart the Grave is another great one. You're probably casting this for 4 mana. Let's be real. The Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard are not too hard to hit, especially when you're thinking about it as you're building it. As you're building the cube. So, we're going to call this a 2 mana Reanimate 2. Because you're reanimating a creature and then a party creature to the battlefield. I'm okay with that. And then Zoth Consumption is each opponent lose 4, gain 4. Not great at 6 mana. Good for a black aggro deck. Also is a land. Totally fine card to put in there. Alright, now we're into the artifacts. There's only 4, because I wasn't happy with most of them. We'll go over them. Bloodthorn Flail. Pay 3 or discard a card to equip. You're probably going to discard a card. Enables that 1 Madness card that we saw. And this is okay. This is okay. Witch's Cauldron. We talked about this on the... sorry. Been a long day. We talked about this on the episode that came out on Monday. On regular cubes, I think this is far too slow. 1 mana to play, 2 mana tap, and sacrifice a creature to get it. But I think if you're going to be playing a longer game, this is something that will help get you there. So we're going to keep this probably the whole way. Draugr's Helm. 2 mana, gives something +2/+2 and Menace. You got to cast another 3. I did like that it makes a token, but its equip cost is just sky high. You can't ask somebody to equip for 4. Enters the battlefield with a soul counter on it. The equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each soul counter. When an equipped creature dies, put another soul counter on it. Cool. Equip cost is low enough that this is kind of just going to be a value generator as the game goes on. Dead Weight. I think Dead Weight is going to be unneeded. We looked at all those other kill a small guy cards. later, earlier, so we're going to get rid of it. Death's Approach is different, though, because this is one of those things that kind of scales as the game goes on. And they put, like, just 4 creatures in their grave. You're now 1 mana killing almost anything. Graph Harvest is the ability that creature card has on an enchantment, which is going to be much harder to get rid of. It just turns your dead bodies that you're not getting back into a zombie, and then giving all zombies menace. Probably okay, but we'll see. Agent of the Shadow Thieves. Actually, this needs to be tagged. What do I tag it as? Legend? Yeah, Legend. Agent of the Shadow Thieves. Here's our first background. So, this counts as a black commander. We're going to have every monocolored commander have partner, but also we're going to make them so they also can have choose a background. Any background could count. Obviously, we can't do like background, but in any other way, you can pair your commander up with a background. I really liked this in Baldur's Gate Draft. It felt very cool, let's just say. It felt very cool to kind of piece together your deck like that. Or, more literally, you turn your Lulu Hippogriff into a barroom brawler. Is kind of just funny to think about. Anyway, that aside, it just gives you the ability to play in that color identity as a drafter, and then as a player, when you're playing the decks later, it gives you some super bonus. Like this says, commander creatures you own have when it attacks a player. If no more opponent has more life than that player, put a 1/1 counter, it gets Death Touch and indestructible. So your commanders are now getting in for bigger damage, and they can't be killed as long as you're attacking the high man on the totem pole. Or high woman, high person on the totem pole. Very cool to see. I'm here for it. This is exactly what I want in this cube. Canonize in Blood. If you descended a turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, sacrifice it to make a big demon. Alright, so a value engine that at the very, very, very late game, should you get there, you just have the ability to make into a creature itself. Okay. Fungal Fortitude. Way to save a guy. Returns battlefield tapped on its own control. Yeah, it's cool. Thran Vigil is kind of the same thing as Canonize in Blood, isn't it? Artifact and our creature cards leave your graveyard during your turn. No, it's not. But that said, I think that the use case is small enough that it's not worth. Discard 2 cards, create a 2/2. I did look. We didn't get Treasure Hunt, but that could be a cool card to add in to make a 2-card combo. Zombie Infestation, Treasure Hunt. Boom. Zombie Hunt. Criminal Past. Here's another legend. In this case, we're getting commander creatures you own have menace and gets bigger based on the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Totally fine. Good thing to drop on 3 and then kind of forget about until you're swinging in with your commander. Demonic Embrace. This is a very good card because unlike most auras that buff your creatures, this one is giving itself back. You're making something into something scary. It flies, +3/+1, and is a demon. But then, later on, after that creature's been killed and you've been 2 for 1, you can then discard a card and put it on something else. I think this is one of the few auras that I would want to run because it's able to get itself back. Face of the Fallen. If at the beginning of each upkeep, if an opponent lost life its turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Great in a multiplayer setting. Yes, please. And then Greed, again, we kind of talked about this earlier. It's a huge investment for 4 mana, but then you're able to pay black and 2 life to just get cards whenever you need them. And then Invasion of Olgrotha. Deals 3 damage to any other target. You gain 3 life. That plays well with as a removal spell. Plays well as a life gain spell. And then it turns into this Sengir vampire almost. I did mention in the white video that I think battles are underrated. But this battle wasn't. This battle's not very good. I'm probably going to keep it because it plays fine enough. I think they probably could have kept this at 4 mana instead of 5. I think that the effect is worth 3 mana. The front face effect is worth 3 mana. But then if you paid 3 mana for that effect and then got a 3/3 flyer on it the very next turn, that seems a little broken. So I think at 4 mana this probably would have been fine. They played it very safe. It's 5 mana. It's still probably okay. So we'll keep that. We'll reduce this, and we'll see what... 103. So we're almost there. We're almost at the point where I'm happy to have black. It was a good first pass. We got some numbers way, way down. I don't know what the final numbers are going to be yet. They are going to be even. I don't believe that you have to have an even cube, but I do believe that since I'm giving this one away, I want to have them even for whoever picks it up. So I think the number is probably going to be in the neighborhood of 60 as the final count for every color. Because 60 times 5 is 300, leaving me 180 cards for lands, colorless, and multi... Yeah, that sounds about right. So, maybe we'll cut a couple more tonight, and then we'll come back to this kind of when we have an idea. Okay, Taskmaster, you're gone. This is kind of why we're coming back to, because now we have an idea about what everything is doing, so it's not nearly as shot in the dark kind of thing. Barrier of Bones, Bloodstock Champion, Cult Conscript, Fume Spitter, Gnawing Vermin. I think of all of these, the only one I really want to cut is Sanitarium Skeleton. So let's move him to the maybe board for now. The Rager, we've got plenty of warriors. This is still, I think, our only free sack outlet. I think everything else costs mana. I didn't see anything really calling my name for needing a free sack outlet, but like things, like even something small as Gnawing Vermin is probably okay. Echo of Dust. Flenser Might, again, we've talked about this. I don't think Infect can be a full thing, but I'm sure we're going to get a giant growth of some sort. We're going to get some other effects of that nature. Unbounded Potential. Yeah, we'll keep that for now. Graveyard Marshal. Very cool to have a foil rare, but also it's just a fine body with a cool ability. Knight of Malice, Leech Gauntlet, the Prowler, Ozone Vampire, Reassembling Skeleton. I think the Squeaking Pie Sneak is probably out, but I do want to see what goblins I have first. But yeah, you know what? Actually, it's just a 2/2 Fear. It's out. Looking at the threes, we have a lot of threes, and a lot of them are kind of in the same vein, which is just keeping smaller... Guys! Okay, if you guys will excuse me for just 1 minute, I'm going to say goodnight to my boys. Thank you very much for that brief intermission. It's very late at night for my boys. They shouldn't still be up, but they are up. So, what I was getting at is there are a lot of 3-drops that are very... Actually, we can look it up. We can go filter, mana value, equal 3, POW, 1. Yeah, there are 6 1-power 3 drops. Let's cut that in half, shall we? We're going to cut the ones in blue in half while we're here. That's just a lot of 3-mana Dirtle machines. When it attacks, if there are 4 more permanent cards in your graveyard, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Okay, that's pretty good. I don't think we need another sacrifice outlet, so I think that's gone. Nadir's Nightblade, when a token leaves, that's cool to keep. The Kesnet we're going to keep. I think, believe it or not, we're going to get rid of the Bone Shredder. I don't think we need that ability. And we'll keep the Battlefield Butcher. Just because it's got the ability to end the game by itself. Probably won't, but it's got the ability. Now, as for the blue creatures, we got the Jessian Thief, which has prowess. We got the Mistwalker, which can get bigger too. Skilled Animator, animates. There's an Urza, which is just fun to have. Vidalcan Anatomist, which gives -1/-1 counters away. And Vizier of Tumbling Sands. I can see why I didn't cut any of these. As much as having a shapeshifter would be nice for an environment that kind of cares about creature cards, I think this is probably the worst of the 6. I think the Vizier is probably not good either. So we'll move those both to the maybe board. Save the changes. And then go back to where I was. Back in the 3 drops. Got the Butcher. The Bog/Rogue. This Brackish Trudge is kind of pulling together Black's life gain deck. Devotee is okay. The Spectre is great. Oathsworn Knight, Sadistic Sky Marcher. This effectively is, I mean, this is very good. Silver Smoke Ghoul is fantastic. It self-sacrifices. It's got a good power to trade up. And it comes back for free. It doesn't say if you've gained 3 or more life this turn, pay something to get it back. It just comes back for free. And then the Stave Crawler. Okay. Grave Scrabbler. Don't think we need that either. Now, we're back to the Shadowcat Inquisitor question. They're both playing in very similar lanes. This has better types. But what they're both doing is giving you a sacrifice outlet that costs mana to make themselves bigger. This is just bigger by default. Yeah, this is just... I'm going to stop looking at the Vengeful Reaper. I don't think it does enough. I'm going to put it in the maybe board for now. But back to that other question. We've got this, which gives you card advantage for +1/+1 counters. Very good if it's being paired with white or green, probably. This one just becomes a really scary threat really fast. You land this on 4. Let's say you use 4 black pips to kill 4 of your own creatures, or artifacts, treasure tokens, clue tokens, what have you. It's swinging in for 7/7, 8/8 menace. You're killing 2 small creatures and getting nothing back. So it's a hard decision. I'm going to leave it to you guys in the comments. Plus, you guys who are live here right now with me, if you're feeling like chiming in, I would love to hear it. Just hear what you think about it. Yeah, because one is very much more value-oriented, and one is very much more aggressive-oriented. This has a much lower buy-in cost to get the counters, plus it gives itself an evasion keyword, whereas this kind of just sits around, becomes a big blocker, probably, and draws a card every time one of your other creatures dies with a counter on it. I'm pretty happy with the 5s. I think I would actually have no problem cutting things like the Vampire Sovereign. As much as I called it the Rhinos, again, the Tarkia Rhinos, it does give target opponent, not each opponent. I'd rather have these 2 growing vampires, and then, yeah, okay, we'll cut that too. 6s and 7s I'm pretty happy with. I do kind of want to cut Dusk Mangler, so I'm going to put it in the maybe board for now, which means it's basically cut, but it's going to be on my mind, whereas cutting the cards is just cutting the cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 black kill spells. We probably don't need that many. So what's the worst one? Is it Grasp of Darkness? Eliminate, maybe? Eliminate hits Planeswalkers, though, and there are 2 3-mana Planeswalkers. Maybe it's Grasp of Darkness. It takes 2 black pips, and it won't kill everything. Parasitic Grasp does do nice things. It costs 3 if you want to kill anything, costs 2 if you kill a human. Echoing Decay is the worst on paper, but I also want to keep things like token armies in check, so I think that needs to stay too. Okay, whatever. We've made a few more changes. I think that brings us down to, yeah, basically in line with the other colors. I'm very happy with stopping here tonight. This is 3 colors down, 2 colors, plus the multicolored, colorless, and land sections to go. We're making this into a 480 card cube from a pile of bulk scraps that I found on eBay. Right now, if you were to buy this cube in paper, as is, $40. So, it shows you that you don't need a lot of money to have a good time. I was thinking about streaming a little bit of the Yargle Day celebrations, but I think I'm going to save that for tomorrow instead, so I'm going to say goodnight here. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this stream. I'm very happy with the Trash Treasure 2 cube, and we'll have Red coming up next Monday. See you then.